Shalom, shalom, Israel. Yeah, so it's put upon me to touch on and deal with the will of the Most High. We got a lot of brothers that understand His will to be something that it's not. And I'm not saying everybody in Israel. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is we got a lot of people who claim to know the Bible, claim to understand it. Like you can know something, have to understand what you supposedly know. I don't have an understanding that's clear enough for us to be out here really teaching and calling ourselves leaders. So I just wanted to touch on His will. People are under the impression that, you know, because they read that the Most High created good and evil, that it's His will for people to go out and worship, worship other gods. It's all right for people to go out and commit rape, molestation, murder, sleeping with other men's wives, sleeping with other people's husbands. You understand? Like all of these things people say, oh, it's the will of the Most High. If it wasn't, it wouldn't be. Well, I'm going to prove that wrong today according to the scriptures inside the Bible, so-called canon, and then also outside the scriptures from information that I consider to be canon. I don't give a damn about what nobody else thinks. It's all about what the Most High registers in righteousness and lines up with His word, His living word at that. So if you look in the description, you'll see I have a pretty lengthy sources to touch into. We're gonna definitely jump into that. We're gonna bring that out because the information has always been there, but I don't think people really focus on specifics like His will, right? You'll read the scriptures and we'll go through scriptures and we'll touch on other things because people are putting thoughts into our minds because of certain doctrines. Well, I'm not coming at you with a doctrine. This is not a lesson. This is just scriptures that pertains to His will. So we're going to see what He has to say. Right? We're going to see what He has to say. So we're going to start off Matthew 6, right? We're going to start off Matthew 6, 9 through 13. And it reads, after this manner, therefore, pray ye, our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. So be it. Now, this prayer right here is what I teach my children. All right. I make sure they understand this prayer out of everything that's going on in the scriptures, outside of who He is, who the Father is, and things of that nature. But this prayer right here is very important for all of us to understand. If you go back into the first book of Adam and Eve, you will understand that Adam said it first before even the Mashiach came back and said it. So, understanding what verse 10 is talking about is very clear. He says, Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So understanding his will has nothing to do with wickedness, because we know that wickedness don't exist in the heavens, in his kingdom, in his realm. In the different realms that he have in the heavens before you get to his kingdom, there is no wickedness going on, taking place. So understanding that should clear up any misunderstanding of, hold on one second, family. So it should clear up any misunderstanding that's dealing with, he created wickedness and he created righteousness. Okay? For a fact, we know that he's not giving no thoughts to disobey his commandments or his word. That would be the will of the world, the will of man trying to do what he want to do and how he want to do it. Right. So that's one point on, let's get on to the next one. Okay. So we're going to touch on Romans 12:2. And it reads, and be not conformed to this world. Again, I asked the question in the title. Is Yaoh's will versus man and the world's will? Scripture confirms no. It reads, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yaoh. In order for me to be able to make any type of from the world that I was in at first, place where I'm at now, I have to first be transformed mentally, then from there emotionally. At that moment, now I'm starting to put myself in a position to receive and understand the will of the Most High. Excuse me. My apologies, family. So let me get back to it. So now we seeing, but ye conform to this world. But be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That has everything to do with getting into this word, getting some understanding, being taught by the Mashiach himself. That's the only way that our minds can be transformed. All right? The only way that we can be good and acceptable is through the will of the Most High. Be considered works. That a lot of people like to say, oh, well, works is going out, preaching, I guess you could say, in the church, or, doing missionary work or what so have you. But no, that's a little something. That has something to do with it. But for the most part, it's understanding the will of the Most High and doing that. Now, if he sends you to go do some work, that's something else. But if you choosing to go and do it yourself, or you sending yourself out on missions, that's something that you're doing. That's your will, not the will of the Most High. So you have to understand what is what, who is who. You have to really be mindful of that. A lot of brothers and sisters are out here teaching and trying to lead people, and they're not sent to do so. We're all students, as they say, scholars of Yaoh. So if you understand that, then Only people we leading is our families. Really. Now we build, we sharpen each other up as brothers and sisters. You understand what I'm saying? But as far as me leading anyone, I'm not your leader. I walk with you, shoulder and shoulder, hand in hand. But I prefer you not to walk behind me or not to walk in front of me. It's only one that walks in front of me. That's Yaoh. The Father is above all. So I don't even have to make that statement. You already understand that clearly. So moving forward into the information. Now I want to read something from the Apocalypse of Abraham. I'm going to read some information coming from chapter 26, right? Dealing with his will, okay? And it reads, "And I said, Eternal Mighty One, why did you establish it to be so? And then proclaim knowledge thereof. And he said to me, Hear, Abraham, and understand what I say to you, and answer my question. Why did your father Terah not listen to your voice, and why did he not cease from his idolatrous practice together with his whole house? And I said, O Eternal One," now this is Abraham speaking to Yaoh, "O Eternal One, it was entirely because he did not choose to listen to my voice." The free will that we get, the free will that we have, the free will that we was granted, to listen or reject, to follow or establish something else and do something else. The path is narrow, as scriptures teaches. The road to destruction is broad. So when we read this information coming from Abraham, right? And the Most High asking him a question, like, why you think your father didn't listen? You see what I'm saying? Now, for one, why would, a lot of times our fathers is not going to listen to us as their sons. I mean, even when we speak in truth and righteousness. I spoke truth and righteousness to my dad before he passed away. Yeah. But in his heart of hearts, he was still stuck in Christianity. You see what I'm saying? It was something that he was fighting with, dealing with before he died. And I understand, not something that I'm willing to put myself through, because when he gives me understanding of his truth, there's no need for me to argue it. There's no need for me to fight against it. It's only righteous for me to put it in perspective with understanding, so that those that's listening can get understanding, right? And not just know something and repeat what YASHAR is saying. Because it's never about you repeating what I say. Never. If anybody you should be repeating is the scriptures. And that ain't nobody, but I'm just saying, if any words you should be repeating is from the living words in the scriptures. So, let me continue to read. He says, it was entirely because he did not choose to listen. He did not choose to listen to my voice, and likewise, I did not choose to listen to his counsel. And he said to me, the will of your father is within him, and your own will is within you. So let's stop right there and pause for a second. Now, this is the Most High speaking to Abraham, letting him know whose will is whose and where it lies. So every man has his own will to do as he please, to do what he want to do, regardless of the laws that the Most High have set, regardless of the words that he left for us to understand in truth. We still choose to do what we want to do at the end of the day, right or wrong. We'll come up and we'll play this game in our own mental and say what we're doing and the reason that we're doing this is righteous because of our own will. Never taking it to the Most High first, getting his understanding, getting his counsel before we go and do anything. That includes myself. I'm not perfect, and I can't X myself out from who I'm speaking about. So I'm not only talking to Israel, I'm not only talking to those who think that they're perfect, but I'm speaking to those that know that they're not perfect, that are trying every day to get it right according to his will, which is following his law, statutes, and commandments that he stresses all throughout the so-called canon scriptures. That religion and religious people don't like to stamp, impress in our minds, in our hearts. You see what I'm saying? Those type of things are very important for us to understand. His will, which consists of his law, statutes, and commandments, and us doing our best to follow them in every way, fashion, or form. That includes understanding where we are, why things were before we got to where we are. What was the purpose of the sacrifices and why we don't sacrifice now? This all has to do with understanding. This all has to do with the will of the Most High, as Yahushua expresses all throughout the New Testament, as they like to say, right? So let's keep going, right? And it reads, and he said to me, the will of your Father is within him, and your own will is within you. And so also the counsel of my own will is within me, and is ready for the coming days, even before you have known knowledge of them, or can see with your eyes what it is the future of them. Now look again into the picture and see how it will be with your seed. So I brought that to the forefront to give us an understanding of the words coming from our forefather Abraham, where the covenant was made, right? So this right here, understanding that the will of the Most High is not anything that has to do with unrighteousness. And we're going to see as we continue to keep reading, right? Now, let's go to John 7:17. If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be of Yaoh or whether I speak of myself. John 7:14 through 17. That's what we're going to do. Now about the midst of the feast, Yahushua went up into the temple and taught. And Israel marveled, saying, how knoweth this man letters, having never learned? So they trying to figure out how this man have the letters from the prophets, the letters from the forefathers, and we ain't taught him. He ain't been with us learning. How do we know this? How can he repeat these words for word? This is what they're asking, right? Yahushua answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine, but is his that sent me. So right here in John 7:16, we're reading and get an understanding that Yahushua himself is telling these people, like, listen, man, who you supposed to be learning from concerning his word? Do you really know? Do you really understand? Because if you did, you would know that this is not my words, yo. This is the words from the one who sent me, the ones that actually inspired these same words that I'm speaking to be written down before I even got here, before I even came into this temple to teach y'all something that I wasn't supposed to know. Then he continues to say, speak. If any man will do his will, he shall know the doctrine. Right? So who doctrine should he know? If you know the so-called doctrine of Yahusha, right? You would know that is Yahusha doing his own will, or is he doing the will of the fathers? This is what Yahusha is stressing to Israel. Like, you're supposed to know who I am when I come, because you're following after the words, the prophecies of me coming. You have an understanding of the word, the living word that taught your ancestors about who I am, who is to come, who sent me, and who will I will be doing. This is what he's stressing in John 7:14 through 17. Or if you want to just say the whole chapter. It's like they're questioning who he is, and they're trying to, figure out and trying to see if he is the Mashiach, and they don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe it. But getting back to my point, which is the will of the Most High, right? Versus man's will. Man in the world, they want us to do everything opposite of following the law, statutes, and commandments. That is his simple will for us. To follow the law, statutes, and commandments. As like I read in the first chapter, which is Matthew 6, which is the Lord's Prayer. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Again, I'm going to keep stressing that. There is no unrighteousness being done in the heavens. The laws that they follow are the laws that he set from the beginning. These are the same laws, the same statutes, the same commandments that we're supposed to keep here. Now, in this day and time, actually we were supposed to keep them throughout all of our generations. And if we would have done that, we would have dismissed the curses. You see, as a nation. Now, we might have had some people to fall off, some people to fall short. That's understandable. But as a nation, that's something real big. He don't deal with individuals, so to say. He deal with us as a nation. Now, we have our own individual walk, which consists of that free will. Getting back to the topic, we do have that. But his word don't change when it comes down to his judgment for us as a nation and for us as individuals. All right? As a nation, we're supposed to keep the will of the Most High, which is doing his law, statutes, and commandments. As individuals, we are to keep the will of the Most High, living and keeping the law, statutes, and commandments as we understand them. No matter where we are in the land, no matter where we are scattered to, no matter where we are in the four corners of the earth, we are to understand who we are. We are to understand his laws, statutes, and commandments, which is his will. It's not his will for us to go out and murder because they got something we want. That car looked real nice. I bet he got a lot of money, man, because, you know what I'm saying, he always jumping in and out of stuff. And, you know what I'm saying, he always flashy. He always got nice clothes on. And that's a lick. He green. Nah. That brother right there is doing whatever he's supposed to be doing. And that's why he got what he got. Whether it's righteousness or wrong. You understand? That's not our judgment. It's not even righteous of us to sit there and be jealous of that brother. To hawk over that brother and what he got or what she got. That does nothing for us. That puts us in a whole mental situation where we trying to get and be like other people when that's not for us. But you let other people tell it, you know, you let other people, put that into your thought process and your mental, then you're going to be feeling like you left out. You're going to be feeling like you ain't getting what you deserve. And as long as we doing the will of the Most High, everything that we need, He got us. The things that we want, we just have to work for it. But let's get into some more scriptures, though. Let's get into 1 Thessalonians, right? In everything, give thanks, for this is the will of Yaoh and YASHAR concerning us. So, one of His wills is to give thanks in everything. Why not? Man, thank you, YASHAR. You know what I'm saying? I went through this little situation. It was hard, but I learned. I learned through that. So now I don't have to go through that again. Now I can teach your mind that come after me what not to do, what they don't have to go through, so they don't have to deal with those hardships, those heartaches, those headaches, those inner pains that, you try and hide, you try and keep from your family because you don't want them to see that you're going through some things. Okay? The will of the Most High is very important for us all to understand. Trust me. Trust me. Okay? Let's go to Jeremiah 29, starting at 11 through 13. It says, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, said Yaoh, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." So let's just confirm that. Now, when we look at the scriptures, right, when we look at that expected end, that was only granted to those that was righteous. That expected end, that allowed our ancestors to be able to speak to us, our ancestors before us, our uncles, our cousins, our brothers. You understand? It allowed them to get an understanding, to get a living word before their father, our forefather, passed away. So he was able to give them the words of the Most High before he was laid to rest. Let his sons know what they need to do, what they need not to do. Even though he taught them all throughout their life. Those final words go a long way. The last words that your father, or that you say to your children, your sons, your daughters, before you take your last breath, is very important. That's what this is speaking about, Jeremiah 11. "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, said Yaoh, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." So now that I know, he tells me, my time is coming to an end. I can feel it. I can understand it. Now I can call my family together. Listen, I'll be taking my last breath here in a few. So this is what I need to let you guys know according to the word, according to our heritage, according to the Most High. "Then shall ye call upon me, and ye shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. And ye shall seek me and find me, when ye shall search for me with all your heart." So following the will of the Most High versus the will of yourself and the will of this world allows us to understand what that expected end consists of. So when I take my last breath and I call upon the name of the Most High, because I don't know where I'm at spiritually, what did he say he would do? "You shall seek me and find me." I'll find him. I'm right there with him. And he will find me. He said, "Then shall you call upon me, and ye shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you, and ye shall seek me and find me." So I'll find him by calling his name, by calling upon him. doing my part here on earth, how I'm supposed to do it, which is seeking his face, understanding his will for my life, understanding his will for my children's life. All consistent of dealing with his will, all righteousness. Right? John 6:38 through 40. It reads, "For I came down from heaven, not to do my own." Now these are the words of the Mashiach in John 6. Listen to what he say. Listen to what he say. He says, "For I came down from heaven not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me." Right? So this is why you don't see him coming down telling us to worship him. You understand? He was saying, follow after my ways concerning the law, statutes, and commandments. How to keep them. Let me show you how to keep them. You know, since we having issues with our elders, and since we having issues with, the priests, following and doing things according to the living words and not according to their own way and their own remix. Now, what we having right now? What we hearing right now? We hearing Yahushua say, "I didn't come to do my will. I came to do my Father's will. I came to do his will. That's who will I came to do. And this is the Father's will, which have sent me, that of all which he have given me, I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day. And this is the will of him that sent me, that everyone which seeth the Son and believeth on him may have everlasting life. And I will raise him up at the last days." So just imagine all of our ancestors that actually walked with him, hated on him, persecuted him, spit on him, beat him. All these different things, all these wicked things that some people would say was the will of the Most High. You see what I'm saying? Some people would say, "Oh yeah, that was the will of the Most High, that he had to go through that." Well, I'm going to tell you again, those type of things don't take place in the heavens. That wasn't the will of the Most High. That was just something that he said that he would do because of what Adam did in the beginning for us to get back into the kingdom, because he knew what we would go through as a nation. See, it wasn't just about Adam. It was about all of us, all of his seeds, all of his children, his righteous children that came after him. See, a lot of you don't accept who you are within that family. Unfortunately, unfortunately, you say it's the pale skin's information. Unfortunately, you say it's not our information. That's unfortunate. But let me tell you, after a brother that's been studying and been searching through these scriptures, I'm 40 now. Excuse me, 41? 40? Yeah, 40. It's crazy. I'm 40 now, right? And let me just tell you. Yo. Right? I have yet to see the pale skin write anything, have any importance in these scriptures. I have yet to see or read that any of my forefathers were actually pale skinned. So when I hear people say these type of things, it lets me know that they're indoctrinated by the pale skin himself. So the pale skin have gotten you to believe that your heritage and that your information is not yours. He has gotten you to believe that the information that our ancestors, your ancestors, left us to learn from and do the things that they were supposed to be doing, got you to believe that This is not from us. But you know what's the crazy part about that is this is the only source when I read this book of many books, and then when I come across the other information that's outside of the book of many books, it registers to my spirit and my soul different than any book that I've ever read in my life on this planet. My apologies, family. So, I'm gonna have to do this over again. My apologies, family. Got a lot going on.